Your mind is no longer your ally. It has become the architect of your own personal prison. You lie awake while the world sleeps, dismantling every conversation you had 3 days ago until the words lose all meaning and only shame remains. This internal war is not a sign of intelligence or careful planning. It is a sophisticated form of self-sabotage that keeps you paralyzed in a world that demands movement. You have mistaken the noise in your skull for wisdom, but in reality, it is the sound of your potential being ground into dust by the gears of indecision. The walls of this cell are made of what-ifs and if-onlys, and every second you spend analyzing the bars is a second you lose in the sun. It is time to recognize that this suffering is a choice you make every morning when you refuse to silence the ghost in the machine. The mechanism of overthinking begins the moment you allow your focus to drift from the present task to the hypothetical past. You replay a gesture, a look, or a sentence with the precision of a forensic investigator, searching for a mistake that cannot be changed. This loop creates a feedback system where the brain believes it is solving a problem, but it is actually just exhausting its cognitive resources on a ghost. By the time you realize you are stuck, the mental fatigue has already set in, leaving you too drained to handle the actual challenges of the day ahead. Psychologically, this reflects a deep-seated insecurity and a lack of trust in your own spontaneous capabilities. Historically, the predator that killed our ancestors was the one they didn't see coming. Today, the predator is the internal voice that tells you that you aren't prepared enough to face the tribe. This constant state of high alert triggers a cortisol response that keeps your body in a fight-or-flight mode, even when you are sitting in a silent room. You are burning through your life force to fight shadows that have no substance and no power over your physical reality. You must reframe your mind as a tool to be picked up when needed and put down when the job is done. When you catch yourself spiraling into a past event, you must consciously label that thought as garbage data that has no utility for your current survival. Refuse to feed the fire with more wood. If a thought does not lead to a concrete physical action within the next 60 seconds, it is a virus. You reclaim your peace not by winning the argument inside your head, but by realizing that the argument itself is a hallucination you no longer need to attend. You tell yourself that you are just being careful, and that you need to consider every possible outcome before you take a step. This is a lie designed to keep you safe from the discomfort of failure. The mechanism here is a defense system that prioritizes the avoidance of pain over the pursuit of growth. By analyzing every variable, you create a false sense of control over a chaotic world that will never conform to your plans. This perceived safety is a trap, because while you are busy preparing, the opportunity you were waiting for is already being claimed by someone who was willing to move in the dark. This psychological paralysis is the ultimate form of cowardice masquerading as prudence. In ancient times, a warrior who hesitated on the field to consider the sharpness of every arrow was the first to fall. You are engaging in a modern version of that hesitation, sacrificing your destiny on the altar of certainty. The more you think, the larger the obstacles appear, until the simple act of starting seems like an insurmountable mountain. You have allowed your imagination to become a weapon used against your own ambition, turning a sharp mind into a heavy anchor. Ich bin der Speaker. The solution is to embrace the crudeness of immediate action. Clarity is not found in the laboratory of the mind. It is forged in the friction of the real world. You must lower your standards for the first step and accept that your initial attempt will be flawed, messy, and imperfect. Action is the only legitimate form of data collection. Stop trying to predict the future and start building it with the broken tools you have right now. The moment you move your body, the fog in your mind begins to lift, and the path reveals itself one step at a time. Your brain was never designed for the complexity of the modern world. It was designed to keep you alive on the savannah. Back then, over-analysis of a rustle in the grass could mean the difference between life and death. Today, that same survival mechanism is misfiring, treating a social media comment or a work email like a lethal threat. The mechanism of overthinking is simply your primal hardware running outdated software in a high-speed environment. It is trying to protect you from social exclusion, which in the past meant certain death, but today is merely a temporary inconvenience. This mismatch between our biology and our environment leads to a state of chronic anxiety. You are carrying the weight of 1,000 hypothetical disasters, because your ancestors were the ones who worried enough to survive. However, you are no longer a nomad fleeing from beasts. You are a modern individual whose biggest threats are internal. The psychological impact is a constant feeling of being hunted by your own thoughts. You are living in a state of emergency that has no end, draining your spirit and preventing you from ever feeling truly secure in your own skin. You must consciously override your biology by recognizing when your primitive brain is taking the wheel. When the alarm bells go off in your head over a trivial matter, acknowledge the sensation without identifying with it. Tell yourself that this is just a biological reflex that has lost its context. By detaching your identity from the physical feeling of anxiety, you strip it of its power to dictate your behavior. You are the observer of the storm, not the storm itself. Use this perspective to ground yourself in the objective facts of your current environment. Overthinking has become your comfort zone because as long as you are thinking, you don't have to face the risk of doing. It is a subtle form of laziness that looks like productivity. You spend hours researching, planning, and debating because it feels safer than the cold, hard reality of potential rejection. The mechanism here is the brain seeking the easiest path to a dopamine hit without the effort of real achievement. You get a small sense of accomplishment from having a plan, even if that plan never leaves the pages of your notebook. This is the poison of the modern age. This reliance on mental simulation creates a psychological divide between the person you imagine yourself to be and the person you actually are. 1. You live in a dream world where you are successful, bold, and decisive, but your physical reality is one of stagnation and fear. This gap leads to a profound sense of self-loathing that fuels even more overthinking as you try to rationalize why you haven't moved yet. You are protecting your ego from the bruise of a mistake, but in doing so, you are allowing your entire life to atrophy in the shade of your own doubt. You must force yourself into the arena of discomfort. Break the cycle by doing the one thing you have been overanalyzing for months, even if you do it poorly. The goal is to prove to your nervous system that you can survive the consequences of action. Every time you act despite your fear, you kill a small part of the overthinker and give birth to the doer. Real comfort is not found in the absence of noise, but in the confidence that you can handle whatever the noise is trying to prevent. Stop seeking safety and start seeking strength through exposure. There is a narrow window between the moment you have an impulse to act and the moment your mind kills that impulse with 1,000 reasons why you shouldn't. This is the critical gap where your future is either born or aborted. The mechanism of doubt requires time to gather its forces. If you give it more than 5 seconds, it will find a way to convince you to stay on the couch. Your brain is a master of rationalization, and it will use every bit of your intelligence to keep you exactly where you are. To win, you must move faster than your ego. Psychologically, this rapid-fire doubt is a way for the brain to maintain the status quo. Change is perceived as a threat to the organism's energy reserves. Historically, those who could act without hesitation in the face of danger were the leaders and the conquerors. Today, that same decisiveness is what separates those who create from those who merely consume. When you hesitate, you are signaling to yourself that your goals are not worth the risk of movement. This reinforces a self-image of weakness and dependency that becomes harder to break every time you succumb to it. Use the 5-second countdown as a physiological trigger to bypass your prefrontal cortex. When you know you need to do something, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and physically move. Do not give your mind the opportunity to start its internal monologue. This technique works because it forces you to focus on a simple task, the countdown, which interrupts the loop of anxiety. By the time you reach 1, your body is already in motion, and the momentum will carry you through the initial resistance. Habituate this response until action becomes your default setting. You are waiting for a moment that will never arrive. The moment when you feel completely ready and the path is perfectly clear. This is a mechanism of perfectionism, which is nothing more than a high-end mask for fear. By setting the bar for action at an impossible level of certainty, you give yourself a valid excuse to never start. You are waiting for the stars to align, but the stars do not care about your timeline. The universe does not reward those who wait for the perfect conditions. It rewards those who are willing to struggle through the mud. This psychological waiting room is where most dreams go to die. It is a state of perpetual almost, where you are always on the verge of greatness, but never quite there. Historically, the most significant shifts in human progress were made by people who had no idea what they were doing but decided to do it anyway. By demanding perfection, you are essentially demanding that life stops being life. You are trying to strip the adventure of its risk, which also strips it of its meaning and its reward. You are choosing a sterile, safe existence over a vibrant, chaotic one. Accept right now that there is no such thing as a perfect decision. There is only action and the feedback that follows. Every choice involves a trade-off, and every path has its own set of thorns. Instead of trying to avoid the thorns, decide which ones you are willing to bleed for. Shift your focus from making the right choice to making the choice right through your own effort and adaptability. The moment you stop waiting for permission or clarity is the moment you become the master of your own fate. Start now with all your doubts and all your flaws. We live in an era of unprecedented access to information, yet we have never been more paralyzed. You believe that one more video, one more book, or one more course will finally give you the answer you need to start. This mechanism is a form of cognitive gluttony. You are stuffing your mind with the experiences of others to avoid having your own. The more information you consume, the more you realize how much you don't know, which only deepens your insecurity and fuels the need for more study. It is a circle of dependency that keeps you as a spectator. Psychologically, this is known as analysis paralysis. Your brain is overwhelmed by the sheer number of options and strategies available, leading to a total shutdown of the decision-making process. In the past, wisdom was gained through apprentice-like action and direct experience. Today, we have replaced wisdom with a digital avalanche of data that provides no actual utility. You are becoming an expert on the theory of swimming while you are drowning on dry land. This information overload is not making you smarter. It is making you more fragile and less capable of independent thought. You must implement a strict diet of information consumption. For every hour you spend learning, you must spend 3 hours doing. Stop looking for more how-to and start focusing on here is. The knowledge you already possess is more than enough to get you to the next stage of your journey. Turn off the notifications, close the tabs, and step away from the screen. Your true education begins the moment the input stops and the output starts. Trust that the specific information you need will reveal itself only once you are actually in the process of creating. Your mind is a graveyard of past mistakes, and you spend your days digging up the bodies just to see if they are still dead. The mechanism of rumination forces you to live through your worst moments thousands of times, as if by replaying them you could somehow change the ending. This is a massive drain on your current potential because you cannot run toward your future while you are staring at your shadow. Every time you bring a past failure into the present, you are giving it a second life and allowing it to dictate the terms of your current reality. Psychologically, this is a way to punish yourself for not being perfect. You carry the guilt of what you did or didn't do like a heavy chain, believing that if you suffer enough, you will somehow be redeemed. But the universe has no interest in your self-inflicted pain. Historically, the most effective leaders were those who could suffer a defeat and wake up the next morning as if it never happened. They understood that the past is a foreign country where they no longer have citizenship. By clinging to your ghosts, You are making yourself a ghost in your own life. You must treat your past as a library, not a residence. Go there only to retrieve a specific lesson, and then leave immediately. When a memory of failure arises, ask yourself, what is the single, objective piece of data I can learn from this? Once you have the answer, discard the emotional baggage associated with it. You are not the person who made those mistakes. You are the person who is observing them now. Forgive yourself not because you deserve it, but because your future requires your full attention. Drop the weight and start walking toward the light of the present. You are wasting your limited energy trying to solve problems that are not yours to solve. You overthink what your boss thinks of you, how the economy will change, or whether the people you love will stay. This mechanism is an attempt to control the uncontrollable, which is the ultimate recipe for misery. You are projecting your mind into the lives of others and the uncertainty of the world, leaving your own house unguarded. The more you focus on external factors, the more powerless you feel, because your influence in those areas is exactly zero. This external focus leads to a victim mentality where your happiness is dependent on the whims of the world. Psychologically, it is a way to avoid the responsibility of your own choices. If you can blame your anxiety on the state of the world, you don't have to look at your own lack of discipline. Historically, those who survived the harshest conditions were those who focused entirely on their own reactions and their own immediate actions. They understood that while they couldn't control the storm, they could control how they steered their own ship. You are letting the waves dictate your direction. Draw a hard line around your sphere of influence. Every time a thought enters your mind, ask, is this something I can physically change right now? If the answer is no, then that thought is a thief. Redirect that energy back into your own habits, your own work, and your own character. The only thing you truly own is your response to the world. By mastering your internal domain, you become an unshakable force that the external world can no longer touch. Reclaim your power by being the only person in the room who isn't distracted by the noise. The biggest hurdle you will ever face is the transition from rest to motion. The mechanism of inertia is as real in psychology as it is in physics. Once you are stopped, every force in your mind will conspire to keep you stopped. However, once you take even the smallest, most insignificant step, the entire dynamic changes. The friction of starting is always greater than the friction of continuing. By focusing on the magnitude of the final goal, you make the first step feel too small to matter, which is exactly how your mind tricks you into staying still. This lack of momentum creates a psychological rot. A stagnant mind is a breeding ground for doubt and fear, just as stagnant water is a breeding ground for disease. When you move, you create a flow of energy that flushes out the toxins of overthinking. Historically, the march was as important as the battle itself. The act of moving forward maintained the morale of the troops. You are a soldier in the war for your own life, and your greatest weapon is your own forward motion. Do not worry about the destination. Worry only about the rhythm of your feet hitting the ground. Commit to the process of movement above all else. Break your large, terrifying goals into tiny, ridiculous tasks that are impossible to fail. If you can't write a page, write a sentence. If you can't work out for an hour, do one push-up. The goal is not the task itself, but the act of breaking the inertia. Once you have started, you will find that the next step is easier, and the one after that is easier still. Momentum is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Stop trying to find the end of the path and just focus on the next inch of ground in front of you. The time for analysis has ended, and the time for existence has begun. You have spent enough of your precious life as a prisoner of your own intellect, rotting in a cell of your own construction. Every second you spend overthinking is a second you are choosing to be dead while you are still breathing. The world is moving. The clock is ticking. And the only thing that will ever save you is the courage to act without knowing the outcome. Take that one thing you've been dreading, and do it the moment this ends. Join this community of doers by subscribing now, because we do not tolerate the comfort of the cage. Leave a mark of your commitment in the comments. Tell us what action you are taking today. The battle is yours to win. But you have to show up to the field. Move now.